BEME Mob, I've got an update for you on this Honda Accord with the fast idle problem. This is not like other cars that have been featured by Scanner Danner, Eric the Car Guy, or this guy. I found him, he did one too. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is try to clean up the idle. And I got a lot of suggestions from people that the fast idle valve was the first place to look. So what I'm going to do, I can see that there's a fresh gasket in there and that looks okay. So I'm going to follow the advice of the video that was made by Eric the Car Guy, as recommended by these guys. What we're going to see is if we can tighten this down and if it'll go more than an eighth turn. So it seems pretty stuck, so I'm going to hit it with some spray silicone and see if that helps. This is plastic, so you can't horse it, you got to be gentle. So I'm just going to back it off, and what that's going to do is allow some of that silicone to get down in there so that when I bottom it out, it does so smoothly and consistently so that it's easy for me to tell that it's bottomed out. So that's good and bottomed out, and I'm just going to back it off just a little bit. As the name implies, this is the fast idle valve. When you first start a car, you want it to idle a little high so that it gets up to operating temperature more quickly. Operating temperature gets its name because that's the temperature that the vehicle operates the best at. Now these are JST screws, you can tell because there's a little dot in the corner of them, and that's Japanese standard. So what I'm using is a number 2 Phillips, which is not compliant, but it has little lines in it that help to give it grip. So the vehicle's cold, and historically it's ran just fine, nice and smooth when it's cold. It's only when it warms up the idle starts to surge. I'll let this warm up and we'll see what it does. This has been running for a considerable amount of time. The fans have not come on, but as you look at the temperature gauge, you can see that it's at least halfway. It's plenty warmed up. And it just does nothing but run good. However, the check engine light is on, so there is something going on there. But the way that it idles, I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm pretty impressed. So I've cleared the codes. I go to fire it up and it doesn't start. So I pulled all the spark plugs, cleaned them, looked down all the holes. All the holes were wet in the middle, which is some drops. You know, that's common if it's not starting. And then I went back to look at it. I didn't put the fuse back in the second one. I put it in the wrong hole. I think I put it here instead of here. It needs to be in this one. I bet it'll start a lot better now. Simple things, man. I need more sleep. Man, I should have figured that out sooner. It's a little flooded, but it'll play. I put the diagnostic plug in the paper clip in the plug down by the passenger footwell, and immediately it starts doing this when I start it up. We're going to try the PCV valve again. Still sucks. So I've cleaned these up, they look great. I use a wire brush to make this shine. I used rubbing alcohol to get this clean. So there's no issue with carbon on them. When you put these together, it doesn't close until you take the tail end of it and plunge it forward into there. But when you tighten it down, that's what you get anyway. I purged the coolant again, and no matter what you do, there's always more air coming out, which is concerning. This thing's been laboring on doing the same pulsing, droning thing that it's been doing. All of a sudden it changed just a little bit. The tone of it, the pace of it. It's got all kinds of bubbles coming out. So hopefully that's a good sign. Hopefully it'll just continue getting a little more time between the pulses. Well, the heat's working good, and you can see the check engine light's on. So we'll pull the codes. We'll let this sucker cool down with the funnel on it. See if anything else will come through. That means that either there's some way that air's getting sucked in, or more than likely there's a head gasket failure or something of that nature. So that being what it is, I did a bunch of different tests to try to figure out what it is. I made a block plate for the fast idle control valve, fast idle valve, FIT valve they call it in the manual. So I did the same thing as before. I pressed paper with dirty hands, dirty gloves, and it just marks it out perfect in the shape that you need. And be sure to rub on the holes and all the important stuff. Traced it out, cut it out of a root beer can, Anyway, you just go back through with the hole puncher, punch your holes out. It should look something like this. It punches right through the paper. No sense in racking your brain trying to cut these little circles out. Just punch them like that. So now we've got an aluminum blocking plate. I'll block off that blankety blank 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 fast idle valve. The good news is the root beer can is silver side out, so it's not screaming obvious. Probably be better to trace one to fit that, but we are blocked off. Let's see what it does. Alright, let's see what it does now, as if I have to wonder. Burning the fire. Just burning. Hear it hissing. There's a gap. If you look at the O-rings on this, they are just flat as flat. They're not doing any good at all. I wonder if it's just leaking around that. So I did the block off plate with the soda can, and I did it with gasket maker, and we are still surging. This stupid car. There's another valve on the back side here. I did the same thing with that. Somebody else, this guy here, had an issue with that, and that's what solved it. It took him 2 months. And so I used that as just kind of I'm not part swapping in that I'm not paying for parts. I'm just cutting up a soda can and blocking these things off. So I tried all that. I did make a list of all the things I wanted to check and look at and make sure. And I went through the whole list today. I checked the signal voltage on the oxygen sensor. That's good. I checked the map sensor and made sure that it had 5-volt reference and ground. It does. I checked to make sure that the output to it corresponds when you pump it up with a vacuum gauge, and it don't. I found it, I've narrowed it down to 2 things. There are 2 things that make that idle loping go away. Number 1 is plugging a hole in this right here. So inside the throttle body here there's a hole, and if I plug that hole, sanity is restored to the universe, my universe. The whole thing just gets happy. You just plug the hole off. And number 2 is unplugging the map sensor. The other thing is if I unplug the map sensor, either one of those things make it run good. It's got to be one of those 2. Now one thing I may have told you, I may not have told you, is that the owner of this car bought a map sensor for a car that's not for 1990 Honda Accord. It's for something like 92 or 93, 95 something. So it's still a Honda one. He bought the plug and the sensor, cut his old plug off. And why'd you go through all that trouble to do that, owner of this 1990 Honda Accord? I'll tell you why, BEME. It's like $200 for the one that fits this car. And I think the reason being is because the numbers and the values are a little different. Shocker, huh? So it only puts out 2.5 volts when it's relaxed, when it's at wide open throttle position. That's as high as it goes. It should be up to like 4 or 4.5 volts, and it's not. So that being the case, it's kind of in that middle ground. So the vehicle thinks that it's at mid-idle or mid-throttle, you know, freeway cruising speeds. It's dumping a bunch of fuel into the fuel injectors, and that makes it go high. And so then the computer says, whoa, the programming on these Hondas, according to Scanner Danner, cuts it back and just drops off the signal. So that being what it is, it's just, you know, going like crazy and dropping, going like crazy and dropping. When it's at idle, meaning that the vacuum's the highest, the value coming from it should be lower. And it's only coming out at, if you do a 10 inches of mercury, it's not low enough. It's not down to that 1.5 mark or 1 volt mark. With the key on the ignition and probing into that middle wire for the map sensor, I should have close to 5 volts. It should be 4.5 volts, and then that voltage should drop as I apply close to 10 inches of mercury of vacuum. So I'm into the middle pin, which is the white wire on the map sensor, and I'm tied into hose 21. It comes off the manifold right there, in fact. So as I crank this up and it gets close to 10, then this should get close to about 1 volt, 1.5 volts. 10 inches of mercury, we should be at about 1. We're at 2.5. So at idle we should be at 1.5. wide open throttle, and it's leaking down. That's another concern. At idle it should be like 1 volt or 1.5 volts. At high vacuum you get the most vacuum at idle, and it's just where that port is. It's on this side of the, just right behind the throttle butterfly. Alright, so let's pump this up again. It just barely moves. You get it to 20 or 30, it just leaks back down, but it's at that 1.5 that it should be. Huh. Seems like if you really crank on it and get the vacuum higher, it holds, but that low level of vacuum just leaks off. Interesting. But yeah, it should be plenty good enough to have an idle fine. Man, I'm just out of things to go through. I've gone through the whole list of things to do. We did the fast idle valve. We blocked off this one. According to that other video, the guy said to do that. The idle air control valve's been replaced. The whole thing started with the map sensor being bad, and you replace that, and then there's an oxygen sensor issue. But yeah, that's right on the money what we should be, you know, with vacuum applied to simulate idling. It's not the map sensor, but the map sensor should read higher up, so that's not okay. That value is bad, but the idle value, which is where we're concerned, is bad. So anyway, I think it's the map sensor, I really do. But the other weird thing is, if you plug one of those holes, I think it's idle air control valve that I'm plugging, but that does bring it down to a good 600-700 RPM idle. So either something's wrong with the intake manifold, because it's not that fast idle valve. I blocked that off completely and it didn't change, but blocking off that little hole in here did cause a change, which is interesting. I also smoke tested this for any kind of vacuum leaks, and I didn't get any smoke coming out anywhere except for the air filter box where the air goes in. It went all the way through the whole thing. So this is my smoke machine. It's basically a discotheque smoke machine that's fun. My daughters love it. And I've just got a couple of hoses that are in an ice cream bucket. Ice cream bucket's not that great. Paint bucket's better. Couldn't find one. Don't matter. There we go. Just get a nice thick bucket of smoke on the other side of this shop so it doesn't smoke up the whole place. That's a little too much. Get your lid tight and go to town. So it's coming from around the air box. I put my head through, there's nothing over here at all. This is wishful thinking. I want to find the problem so bad I'm making it up in my head. But it's coming from the air box and then up. Well, we don't have any vacuum leaks. We've checked and double checked that. The other way that I checked this is I pulled a bunch of these off already. I pull one off and hold it, see if there's a change. All vacuum comes from the intake manifold. So anywhere that you can find a port, if you pull off the source and check it at the source, then that saves you a bunch of downstream work. It's like pulling a fuse to find an electric draw when you have a parasitic draw, but with vacuum. I tried pushing it in through the power brake booster, and I checked all the different vacuum lines. And of course, before I did any of this, I didn't want to get any more carbon monoxide poisoning, so I welded up the back end of the muffler. Looking inside the muffler, you can see there's some rusted, nasty stuff in there. But the biggest problem is I can't get the exhaust tube on it because this is not secured. It's plenty thick enough, it just isn't secured. We got a new muffler to put on it, but the problem is that it comes out on this side and it comes in at the center instead of there. So it's just ALSCII. It wouldn't work. And that little drip valve that makes your muffler not rust out, this one's already been written off. We already know that this muffler's toast and a little rusted in the inside. But I just need to get it to where I can breathe and run the vehicle. I've been running this car all day just about, you know, just on and off trying to get the sucker fixed. I found one of my flashlights I left in the car. Now I'm only missing one. I think the other one was in the engine compartment. We were so carbon monoxide poisoned that first day. It was ridiculous. Dude, your brain cells are worth more than this whole freaking car. I don't know why I spend so much time on it. Kind of it's a challenge. It's like a unicorn. It's one of these cars that has things on it that are just different that I just never messed with. I've never had to before. But if you're just sticking around, you're probably a subscriber, and I probably want to hook you up. So without further ado, let's do that. There's a company named Displate. When you think of a plate, like a metal plate in a display, that's basically what it is. They make posters out of metal. Can you believe it? I've got a poster on my door that's getting pretty chewed up, and I thought metal posters, that's awesome. I looked at what they had to offer, and it's pretty cool. Let me show you what I got. So I've got 3 of them. The first one is "The mountain is calling and I must go." I need to really clear my lungs out from all this carbon monoxide. I like that one. The next one I got is a Subaru. Can't go wrong with the Subaru. And then this one I think is my favorite. It's a Triumph. It's a little dual sport dirt bike. And it's just cool. So what's different about these? So when you get sideways to them, you notice that it's not paper on the edge. It's rolled. You can pull it off. They come with these self-adhesive magnets, and you just put the magnet on there, hold it on there for 2 minutes, and then you just put the poster on. If you want to have it have a little flare and be crooked like that, go for it. You change your mind, you can put it back the other way. Now when I saw these, I thought that they were full size. I'm like, man, where am I going to put these in the whole garage? Because, you know, as far as wall space goes, it's pretty valuable, rare real estate. So this is your typical poster. These are what the Displate ones are. Now these guys, they have all kinds of cool programs. That's the way that their logo looks. And like I say, I'm going to share a couple of these with you guys. We're going to just do a thing in the comments again. So basically just put Displate in the comments so I can find it. And they do shipping to the lower 48 states. So if you're in the contiguous United States, you're eligible to enter. I don't care how old you are. We'll get you one. For every poster that they get, they plant 10 trees. You don't have to nail or screw or do anything, but find a good slick surface to stick your magnets to. You stick your magnet, you clean the surface, peel the backing. Don't do it on a textured wall. And then once it's clean and dry, hold it on there 2 minutes and you're rock and roll. There was something else about supporting artists that come up with the artwork, but they come wrapped in plastic. And you've got this on the back and a little bit about them planting trees and whatnot. Production, the signature's in a little different place on each of these, but they take them seriously. Like each one is a little high quality product, work of art. Like I said, this is my favorite. There's a 57 Chevy, the one that I really like too. They said I could have 3 of them for mentioning this to you guys. Or I think the number was 5, but I was like, let's give 2 of them to subscribers. So each person is going to be able to pick their own. So go ahead and enter. Go ahead and go to displate.com. Go to the Displate link in the description and check out, see what they have to offer. They are a little expensive, but they are a premium quality product. But you can go there and see what you like, and especially if you win, because you're going to have to pick one out and we're going to send it to you. I have to get your phone number, address, and which one you want. I give that to Displate and then they send it to you. So it'll be 2 lucky winners, so be sure to enter in the comments Displate and what state of the lower 48 you're from. If you don't put a state, you won't be picked. Heck yeah, mail call. See what's in there. He said he's gonna do it and he did it. Dude, he hooked me up. Look at all these stickers. So Charles says, rock on, man. I was such a slacker. Dude, I need to get some shirts and stickers going, honestly. What's my deal? I need some help from you guys. What should I do for my stickers? I can't decide. And shirts. I love this kind of shirt though. Like, these are so comfortable. It's even a large. Awesome. Thanks, Charles. You're the best. So if you guys don't know Charles the Humble Mechanic, he's in the recommended channels. Some of the coolest things about Charles is that he's got dealership experience, he's got Volkswagen experience, he's got great life experience, and he's just a cool guy. You know, as it says, he's humble about it, and he just takes what he has and he just shares it with people. The dude is rocking. He's tearing it up. His channel's growing like crazy, and for good reason. Follow him on Instagram. He's got some great posts there too.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to click like and subscribe. Bonus footage at the end.
That's why I don't like flying here. It's so dirty. Everything else is cool, but the dirt and the bumps.